Hello, this is Mac and N, One More Thing. And something you don't know, because there is simply no reason in the world you should ever know, is that it's episode 7, episode 007. When we started this off, it was going to be a short thing. We'd try out extra news as the proper Mac and N podcast. But we thought, in my little optimistic way, I'd name the files with 3 digits so that we can get up to 999 editions by the end of the year. But this has had the unexpected fact that this is officially episode 007. So, since you can't see me, let me explain that I am in fact roguishly handsome, and as in episode 007, I am in a tux and I am drinking tea, shaken, not stirred. You're looking at me, but you'll never check, will you? So it's all true. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and with you and I this week is the genuinely cool but dangerous Malcolm Owen. Hello, Malcolm.
That's right, cool and dangerous. That's why I'm dressed up as Blofeld. I have enough cats to do it.
Well,
hang on, is Blofeld's the one of the ones with the cats, isn't he?
I don't know.
Is he the one with the great big white cat? I don't have a white cat, but I got paint.
I thought it was Austin Powers. No.
No, he had the hairless one.
Oh yeah.
Because
Okay.
Because that's Dr. Evil, who is parodying Blofeld, who had the cat, which originally had hair, but then didn't later on in the first... I know this stuff. Why do I know this stuff?
Yeah. This is the well-researched, detailed Mac and N One More Thing. This is why we're the other podcast. Can you tell that we're not the proper, official, serious one that gets to the heart of news? We're the other guys in the kitchen, aren't we? But, kettle's on, biscuits here. And Malcolm, I hadn't honestly thought about Bond until I typed in 007 on the little file name, but I have been waiting to talk to you this week because of one particular thing. It's actually become 2 particular things. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to just sort my head out about news that just feels like a barrage of information to me. But first, let me just say, previously on One More Thing.
This is going to be the first time in a long time that I'll be going through an operating system, or a major operating system upgrade on OS X for once.
So now, 1 week later, Malcolm, are you on El Capitan, and what was it like?
I'm on El Capitan, and it's an update. That's really my entire opinion of it. There's not much in the way of changes that I've seen. There's a few little bits there that I like, but that's because I'm a childish idiot. But yeah, it's an update.
Okay, well, another comprehensive report there from One More Thing. Okay, actually, I was so intrigued last week because I hadn't expected you to move. Because I know you have a Mac Mini, but you mostly work on Windows and things. I didn't know it'd be worth your time going to El Capitan. I did, of course, because it's my main machine and I like this. But I wanted to know how it feels compared to upgrading Windows, because you've just been through a Windows update. Now you're through the OS X one. Was it completely trivial and easy, or are they both right hard buggers?
Well, I would have to say they're both good and bad in their own different ways. With the Windows update, it was fairly straightforward, but you had to wait for it to preload and all that horrible stuff. With El Capitan, you didn't have to do the preload thing. You just had to wait for it to say, oh, yes, there's an update available. Do you want to download it in the Mac App Store? And that was it. You didn't have to spend ages waiting to be allocated or having to try and skip a queue. It was more a case of it became available and it was a bun fight. And it seems a lot better, or at least a lot more logical to do that than what Microsoft did with... at least with Microsoft, they thought it would be a logical thing to do the queuing system, and it didn't quite work. As for the update process itself, Windows has more steps to go through, to go from 8.1 to 10. With El Capitan, I think I had to basically say, yeah, I want to download it, yep, I wanted to install it, yep, this is my password, and maybe one more click in the middle of it, and then I was facing the new desktop. I didn't like how Apple's software lied to me, though.
What? Lied? How? Lied? What? How? What?
Okay. Well, when you're upgrading, you're faced with the ominous Apple logo, a little scroll bar, and installing about insert number here. Minutes remaining.
Oh, yes. I know what you mean now. I had that too.
Now, I wouldn't mind, but when it says 31 minutes remaining, I don't particularly want to spend half an hour waiting for it to get to about 28 minutes remaining. It's one thing to be smooth, accurate, and so on and so forth, and striving to be those things, and they're not. They could have solved it by saying roughly, and then going down to maybe a 5-minute increment rather than minutely increments. It wouldn't have been that bad if I sat there for about 35 minutes waiting for it to move 5 minutes. But to move 30 minutes to change the timer by just 1? I'm sorry, but no one's got time for that.
I don't think it's unfathomable. I mean, when it's downloading, yes, because your internet connection changes all the time, fine. But when it's actually on your Mac and they know how long, it shouldn't be that variable. There shouldn't be anything, I think, that takes unexpectedly a long time. So I can't fathom that. But at least, I mean, I remember installing Windows. I didn't know about the queuing and the allocation, but years ago, back when Windows started up under DOS, which it lasted for a long time under DOS. I remember it saying, "Do you want to install Windows Update, yes or no?" And I said yes, and then I left my office for the day, came back, and on the screen was saying, "Are you really sure you want to update it, yes or no?" So I had to do yes again, and I left it overnight, and I came back in the morning, and it had got to about halfway through and was demanding that I set the date and time. So I set the date and time, and then it was another many, many hours before it was finally done. It just seems that computer manufacturers expect us to sit there watching thermometer progress bars going along for hours on end. And I honestly thought Apple was better than that. But no, this one, WatchOS 2 was worse. I think I had a lot of problems doing that. Last week when we'd done this, I'd only just got El Capitan, and I hadn't liked the delay, but I hadn't particularly noticed or objected to it. I wasn't moved to say it on the podcast. But since then, other people have been saying the same thing as us, but also a lot longer delays. And I think that must be putting some people off. We have a great feature on macnn.com right now, 5 reasons. I've written one called 5 reasons that you should upgrade to El Capitan. And then we have one on a few reasons why you shouldn't. And I think it's a terribly compelling argument why you should wait for a while. But I couldn't wait. I couldn't contain myself. And what was it you said about you liking some of the features because you're childish? I must be very childish. Which features spoke to the child within you?
Well, first off, there's split screen mode, which, because I'm someone who used to use it in Windows anyway, it's something that I'm familiar with. Being able to have 2 apps on the same screen at the same time, side by side in full screen mode or whatever, I'm fine with that. I'm used to that. The really childish one is one that wasn't brought up, unfortunately, in the 5 reasons to upgrade. You're running El Capitan right now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. El Capitan on a iMac 27-inch.
Right. I'm not too sure whether you've seen it, but you got the mouse here. This is going to be brilliant for an audio podcast. Yeah. If you just shake the mouse left or right very, very quickly, I'm not too sure whether you've seen this. You try it.
I knew it was coming, and I remember thinking when they announced it, I do occasionally lose the mouse, but I just wiggle it and I see where it moves.
Yeah, it's just.
But actually, that was before this "it gets bigger" thing. And on my screen right now, when I wiggle the mouse on the trackpad anyway and move the cursor, nothing happens. The cursor moves, but it doesn't get bigger or smaller. So I feel robbed.
On my screen, it goes from a tiny little icon to this comically big thing. And it's just brilliant to see. A nice, pristine, dainty little desktop. You wiggle the mouse and suddenly you've got a clown car appearing on screen to say, "Yes, I'm here, come and use me." So I've been, for the last couple of days at least, I've been sitting here going, I'm a little bit bored. Wiggle the mouse.
With your 300 Steam games, you play with the cursor. That's like giving a kid a present and they like the box more.
Well, to be fair to it, it's immediate. It's something that maybe takes about a second to kick in on my screen. With anything on Steam or anything else, I've got to wait for that to load up and everything. This, it's an instant. Yee.
Yeah, don't get me started on Steam. I'm not a fan. But okay, listen, the split screen thing. That's another thing. They said it was coming, and I thought, okay, I'll never use it. I mean, because already I have a wide screen, 27 inches. I will put two documents up side by side. I'll work away as normal. What's the difference? But there is a difference. I just can't fathom it. I'm using split screen an awful lot now, and I never imagined I would do anything other than try it out. What psychologically is the benefit of split screen?
Well, it's the same sort of benefit as having two screens. I rock two screens here all the time anyway. But being able to, at least for my work, being able to write on one screen while I have source materials on another screen. At least with split screen, you have a similar sort of thing where you can have a document you're working on one side and source materials on the other side. Or if you're an artist or designer, having whatever the design you're working on one side and again source materials or the brief for it on the other side.
Okay. Now, remember, keep in mind that I actually agree. I like this and I'm using it. I just can't fathom why I like it so much, because when I didn't use it, when I would put up two documents and just leave them one side of the screen or the other, I could Command Tab between them. If you do split screen now and Command Tab, it goes out of both apps and onto your desktop or the next non-full screened app. So I'm having to use my trackpad to click left and right between the documents, and that's got to be slower. I also find coming out of it is just chaotic, really. If you try to close one app and things, Safari has just come out of half screen and whacked off to the side, nowhere near where it originally was, and leaving just a little bit that I can drag to bring it back onto my monitor. And if I want to close one app and open another in the same space, I find that a bit messy. But when it's up and running, two apps, I'm there for an hour working on these things and not seeing anything else. It's great. I just want to understand what it is in my head that makes it great. Are you cleverer than me? No, you are.
I don't know if I'm cleverer than you. We got to do a Mensa test for that. But I have noticed that it doesn't work on both of my screens. It works on my 1080p screen. My other screen is a lower resolution, more old-fashioned 4:3 aspect ratio display. And weirdly, while I can get split view on... Sorry, the split screen, I do apologize, not split view, that's a different one. On one side, it will not allow me to put anything up on the other side. It keeps on saying the app will not facilitate it, despite the fact that it works fine in the same combination of apps on the main screen. So I think it might be something to do with the aspect ratio and or the resolution of that second screen. So there is a limit to it.
No, I think that's actually technology telling you to come down to one screen. That's what it is.
No, screw you and your single screen. I'm having two screens, damn it. I am drunk with power, with information power. Fear my pixel base.
I used to have three monitors spread out in a little semicircle, and underneath I'd have my iPad on a stand and sometimes my iPhone as well. It was a barrage of Macness, and in the end I realised I actually quite like daylight in my office. So when I got an iMac and it was just this beautiful screen by itself, I ditched the rest. My office is lighter by the like of it, and I've never felt the need to go back. Join us.
For me, I had a similar thing where I had, I had my main two screens, but I also had my notebook in here as well, and I used it as a 3-screen layout by using a bit of software called Synergy FOSS, which allowed me to use the keyboard and mouse across all three as if they are 3 screens on the same computer, despite being 2 different systems. So I had the 3-screen thing. I had my Android tablet and my phone below the screens as well, so I'm completely familiar with that. But no, in this office I have not gone for the let's try and bring in natural light thing, because I've got light sensitive eyes, and I like to keep things as static as possible in terms of light, so my windows are all just boarded up as if there's a zombie apocalypse outside.
But no, hang on. There's one thing I don't understand, Inspector. We established today that you were cool and dangerous. Surely you have sunglasses.
No, I don't know.
There you go. You see.
I don't wear sunglasses indoors.
Yeah, but you get to take them off dramatically. That's what I like about sunglasses.
I'm sorry, do you really think I am a mix between the Fonz, David Caruso, and the well-known swear-word large character from the Austin Powers films?
Yes.
Oh, great, thanks.
I think the word we're looking for now is anyway. Let's move on to something else that I was also waiting to hear about from you. In fact, when this happened, I actually thought, Malcolm will understand that. I'll ask him on one more thing. It's to do with Adobe and all their announcements. Now, previously on Adobe, every year, sometimes every 2 years, they'd bring out a big new CS99 or whatever it was called, and there'd be this massive burst of features, and Photoshop particularly was really exciting every time. And then they moved to the subscription thing, and it's like, on the one hand, they dribble out new features when they're ready, which is brilliant, but suddenly you're working and think, no, hang on, we didn't do that before. That's quite good. Or we get to this stage where they announce everything, not just Photoshop, not just the suite, but a mass of things. And I looked at it, so I was reading your coverage on Mac, and I thought there's just so much Adobe-ness. Can you break it down? What's actually important, do you think, from this week's barrage of information?
Well, as usual, there's two sides to things. On the mobile side, people who are mourning the loss of Photoshop Touch.
Yeah, I like
which
that.
was Photoshop, but touchable for iOS. Yeah. They brought out Photoshop Mix, didn't they?
Oh, yes.
As a free app.
Oh, I've got to try that.
Now, they've brought out something called Photoshop Fix, which is it's kind of like a basic photo editing tool. So you don't have the huge amount of tools available, but you have the essential ones for being able to make small edits or quick edits to a photo that you've just taken. So it's brilliant for those. I'm going to upload this to Instagram or whatever the other one is.
You're thinking Pinterest.
Yeah. Well,
No, not Pinterest. No, Snapchat. No.
Yeah.
There's probably another one this week, but Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest. Oh, Facebook. That does some photos sometimes, occasionally. Twitter. Okay.
That's it. Twitter does, yeah. MS Paint does images as well, doesn't it?
No, never did. No.
Oh well. But you ready? If you want to upload something to those, you've got something that can do a lot more in terms of editing than the basic crop and filters that you get in these apps for insert name of service here. So that's kind of quite nice. So you have the healing brush, you have Liquify, and a couple of the other main tools. Also, there's Adobe Capture, which is Adobe Capture CC, which is an app that combined the Adobe Brush, Shape, Color, and Hue apps into an all-in-one single app. So you were able to, if you have an image on your phone that you've either downloaded or photographed or whatever, it makes it very easy to be able to extract elements from that to be able to use in designs elsewhere in the Adobe universe of apps.
I'm glad you said that, the Adobe universe of app, the whole ecosystem. Like everybody else, I think Adobe wants to keep you within its little family. And I was there. You know, I like Adobe Audition. I've recently been doing a project on Adobe Premiere and stuff. I think their apps, for the most part, are brilliant. But I'm not completely in the system. When I'm working on my iPad, for example, I really like Pixelmator. For the basic things I do, I don't think it has a healing brush kind of thing, but I have yet to come across a job I needed to do that Pixelmator wouldn't. Are you more into image work than I am? Would you find Pixelmator limiting and need Adobe's clout, if that's the right word?
Well, to be fair, I use Pixelmator on my Mac, but for most of the work that I do, I can easily downgrade to the new image manipulation project.
I'm oddly not excited by Adobe's news there. I just so much of it.
Well, that's only for mobile. There are other things they announced.
There's more. Grief.
Okay. On desktops, the main things that you have incremental changes for all of them anyway. So with Photoshop CC, there's increased integration with something called Adobe Fuse CC. Fuse CC allows you to create 3D models, which you can use in other apps. With the change here, you're now able to insert it into a Photoshop CC file and be able to pose it and do whatever you need to within Photoshop quite easily to make it look nice in the 2D scene in Photoshop as opposed to the 3D model. There's an updated Illustrator CC tool. The Shaper tool's been brought in, which is basically replacing 12 different tools and panels, so you can draw basic shapes, and it turns them into much better looking proper perfect geometric versions. There's the if you're in the Creative Cloud photography plan, then if you're using Lightroom CC, you're going to get things like dehaze, the tool which allows you to, well, dehaze a photo.
Apart from all of that, is there anything really worth commenting on Adobe this week? Really? Anything at all?
No. There's a ton of minutiae.
One slightly odd thing about this week, this 007 week, we have masses of news from Adobe. We don't have a lot of news from Apple. And actually, I think the most interesting news from Apple is something that shouldn't be news at all. It is, and it deserves to be, but I think the world would be better if it weren't news. Tim Cook has this week received the Human Rights Campaign's National Visibility Award, and it's specifically and directly because of last year when he came out as gay. Now, as he even mentions in a speech for this, that should be so what? That should be a shrug. What could it possibly matter? But it does matter, and the fact that it does matter now, and the fact that he came out, I think particularly when he is so visibly private, if that's possible, that he came out and said what he said was a good thing, and he deserves a National Visibility Award. And I love the idea that you see him taking this, and you realise he's accepting it for the same reason, that it's visible and that is what he wants to do. Whether it's difficult for him or not, he wants to be visible and to help. So really, this is news about which there is nothing to say except it's good. And listen to just this little bit of it.
Last year around this time, as some of you might remember, I wrote an essay that was deeply personal. I wanted to lend my voice to people who might not be ready to exercise theirs. It was an open letter to the public, but it was addressed most of all to everyone who had been rejected by their friends or communities or even their families simply because of who they are. I'll tell you, I did not do it for attention. I'm a private person by nature. Growing up, I was taught that you distinguish yourself in life by what you do, not by what you say or how loudly you say it. But sometimes you just have to be loud.
You can catch the whole of Tim Cook's speech on YouTube, and do watch the whole thing because it includes a rather moving introduction from a speaker and a video of many famous people talking about the impact Cook's announcement made. And something I particularly like, something you'll notice when you watch the whole speech, is that despite what that bit you've just heard sounds like, the speech as a whole is barely about Tim Cook himself. It is all about everyone else. And you just like the guy. Now, Tim Cook is so visible, of course, because he's the head of Apple. And I think it's becoming the fact that Apple equals Tim Cook these days. And I think that's how it should be as well. But as Tim Cook noted at the end of last week, it is now 4 years since Steve Jobs died. His last WWDC keynote, the last time we saw him doing his thing, was in 2011. But I want us to scoot back just a little bit further to 2009. This is WWDC. Jobs was just about to announce the iPhone 3GS, if you can remember that far back, iOS 3.0, which seems even further ago, but he had been away from Apple, he had been ill, and before he did anything else, he wanted to say this.
As some of you may know, about 5 months ago, I had a liver transplant. So I now have the liver of a mid-20s person who died in a car crash and was generous enough to donate their organs. And I wouldn't be here without such generosity. So I hope all of us can be as generous and elect to become organ donors. I'd like to take a moment and thank everybody in the Apple community for the heartfelt support I got too. It really meant a lot. And I'd also like to especially thank Tim Cook and the entire executive team of Apple. They really rose to the occasion and ran the company very ably in that difficult period. So thank you, guys. Let's give them a round of applause.
You can find that whole video again, find the whole WWDC on YouTube, and watching it now to get that audio for you, I got to say I was a little bit choked up because he looks so gaunt, and of course we know now that he wasn't going to survive very much longer. But Apple survives. I don't want to make it sound like a Hallmark card, I know that the company lives on, but the company does, you know, and we are now on the iPhone 7, the iPhone 6S, we're on the iOS 9. Things he started in some ways are progressing, and we should all make that kind of dent in the universe. Speaking of products, though, my favourite part of One More Thing is Thingies of the Week. And I particularly love this because every week Malcolm has found an app or a device or a person, a training thing, something that I'd not known of before and I'm really interested into. Malcolm, week 7, knock it out of the park. What have you got for us?
Hang on.
Don't do this, no. Malcolm's got a bin as his thing of the week. Or a cassette tape. Is that an 8-track?
No, I can't talk about that. No.
You really can't. I mean, this is a family show, as we keep saying, but you can talk about anything. Is it a kettle? Is it chocolate?
Oh, no, I got an idea. So, I've written about this. It's a pair of headphones that I'm wearing right now. They're the Razer Black Shark. So, these are basically gaming headphones. They're not your normal gaming headphones, mainly because usually you have things like a nice plastic surround, and it's supposed to look sleek. It's sleek? No, that's a bad term for it. It's supposed to look like a well-built, nicely put together, not intrusive on the eye product at all. And you look at the Razer Black Shark, and you realise it's a brilliant, in terms of audio quality, pair of headphones, but when you look at them, they basically are modelled after the kind of headphones that you'd expect to see someone who's working the radar station in a military ship or vessel.
We'll look up a link thing. I'll include those in the show notes. But it's going to be a themed show notes, because the thing I thought you didn't know was that my thingy of the week is a set of headphones. You can tell. This is why we're not the proper podcast, you know? It's a bit more rough and ready, decaffeinated coffee, boiled water, biscuit stuff. Because my headphones are, well, I'm going to enthuse about them, but they don't sound as elaborate as yours. No, mine are just nice. For £30, or about $60, I'm recommending the Kit Sound Manhattan headphones. They're a Bluetooth set. They can take phone calls as a microphone, although I haven't actually tested that yet. I just like the sound. I think, Malcolm, you're more of an audiophile than I am. I love headphones, especially because I start working about 5 in the morning, and I also like my neighbours. So I play music over headphones, and I've had several wired pairs over the years. I tried this on, and it's just so much clearer. I can't go back to my wired ones. Yeah, even yours sounds more dramatic than mine. Okay, you had an interesting thing there of live finding of your thingy of the week. I did say for 7 weeks now you've had a great thing, and I'm intrigued by this one, even though I'm happy with my headphones. Every week, though, I've also said, can either of us give a clue what's going to be thingy of the week next week? Can you do it this time?
I will probably be able to say it'll be something that I will have used within a 1 mile radius of where I'm sitting right now.
I'll take that. I personally have not one single pixel of a clue, but I am actually really conscious of the fact that next week there's no new iOS, there's no new OS X, no new Watch OS. We won't say the word OS, we won't say the letters OS at all. What's going to be left for us to talk about? There is, of course, only one way to find out. This Thursday, every Thursday, Mac NN, One More Thing.